Have you ever woken up and felt like everything around you is falling apart? Not in a dramatic, movie scene kind of way, but quietly, invisibly. Like the ground beneath you is slowly slipping, and you're the only one who notices. Your routines no longer feel comforting. Conversations feel hollow. The things that used to bring you joy now leave you strangely untouched, and you can't quite explain it, not to your friends, not even to yourself. You just feel it. That silent collapse. And maybe, just maybe, you've asked yourself, why? Why now? Why does it seem like nothing is stable anymore? Why does it feel like the world is pulling away just as you need something to hold on to? It's not because you've done something wrong. It's not because you're weak. It's not because life has suddenly turned against you. What if I told you that this feeling, the unraveling, the confusion, the deep, quiet ache was not a sign of failure, but something else entirely? What if it's the beginning? Most people will tell you that when life begins to fall apart, you need to fight, you need to fix, you need to move faster, work harder, stay strong. But what if falling isn't a mistake? What if falling is part of the path? What if what's breaking down is not your life, but the version of it that was never really yours? There comes a moment in every life, sometimes more than once, when the familiar no longer fits. When the noise you once tolerated now feels unbearable. When the masks you wore become too heavy. When your soul starts whispering through your discomfort, asking, "Is this all?" That whisper gets louder. Not with sound, but with silence. With moments that feel empty. With days that blur into nights, where your reflection in the mirror looks less like someone you recognize and more like someone waiting to be remembered. And that's when the fear sets in. Because if everything is falling apart, then what will remain? Let me tell you something most people won't. You are not falling apart. You are shedding. You are unraveling everything that no longer serves you. Every role you played to make others comfortable. Every version of you that existed just to survive. Every story you believed that kept you small, silent, obedient. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of something deeper. Something real. Yes, it hurts. Growth always does. Yes, it's confusing. Awakening always is. But you are not alone in this collapse. Because what feels like a breakdown is often a breakthrough in disguise. What feels like emptiness is space being made for something more honest to rise. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You are waking up, and that's why everything feels like it's falling apart. Because the false parts of you cannot come with you where you're going. The illusions must crack so the truth can breathe. So if you're here, listening and feeling like you're losing control, like your life is slipping through your fingers, pause it, breathe, listen closely. What if this is not chaos, but clarity beginning to take shape? What if this is not your undoing, but your becoming? You don't need to fix this moment. You don't need to escape it. You need to witness it. Let it speak. Let it strip away everything that was never truly yours. Because on the other side of this falling is flight. And I promise you, what is rising in you now, quietly, softly, is stronger than anything that has ever held you. You are not falling apart. You are falling into place. It's tempting to believe that when life begins to fall apart, something is going wrong, that you must have missed a step, made a mistake, lost your grip. But what if the very sensation of things unraveling is not a mistake at all? What if it's the most honest response your soul can give when your life no longer reflects who you truly are? Carl Jung believed that the egotha version of you built for the world is not your enemy, but it is limited. It's the mask you wear to function, to be liked, to stay safe. The ego is made of habits, expectations, roles you didn't choose but learned to perform. The problem begins when the ego tries to run the entire show, when the mask you wear becomes so tightly fitted that you forget it's a mask, when the image you've constructed becomes more important than the truth of your experience. And then quietly, inevitably, that image starts to crack. You feel it first as tension, resistance, a quiet unrest you can't explain. You no longer feel at home in your own life. You no longer resonate with the roles you play. The smile feels rehearsed. The pace, exhausting. The people around you, once familiar now, feel distant, like you're performing in a life that's no longer yours. This is where the ego panics, because the ego thrives in predictability, in identity, in control. It tells you that if you just keep doing what you've always done, keep pleasing, keep achieving, keep managing perception, everything will be fine. But it isn't. And so, the cracks widen. You begin to forget what you truly want. You stop recognizing your own voice. You wonder why you feel numb in moments that should make you feel alive. Jung called this the split between the ego and the self. The self is your wholeness. It holds both your light and your shadow. It knows who you are beyond performance, beyond roles. It is the deeper truth you've been carrying beneath the noise, patiently waiting for you to return. But returning requires a breaking. The collapse you're experiencing is not punishment. It's pressure from your own soul trying to break the ego's grip so that the self can emerge. The anxiety, the doubt, the confusion, these are not signs that you're lost. They are the symptoms of a self that has outgrown its shell. You are not being destroyed. You are being revealed. And that is the moment most people resist. Because the ego is loud. It tells you to fix the discomfort, patch the cracks, get back to normal. But what if normal was the problem? What if the disconnection you feel is not a flaw but an invitation? You're not falling apart. You're being asked to choose. Live honestly or keep pretending. Stand in your truth or continue to perform. You are not being broken. You are being invited into alignment. When your ego feels like it's dying, it's because your life is asking you to evolve, to let go of the roles that once protected you, but now imprison you, to stop living from obligation and start living from truth. That is why things feel like they're falling apart. Because the lies can't hold anymore. Because the act has reached its final scene. And underneath that unraveling is not chaos, but clarity. We often fear losing control. But what if control was the illusion? What if letting go is not weakness, but wisdom? Jung believed that all neurosis comes from a refusal to suffer the legitimate pain of becoming oneself. We avoid the discomfort of change. We distract ourselves, numb ourselves, overcommit, overthink. We cling to the known, even when it's killing us. But transformation has a price. The price is everything you are not. So yes, it will feel like dying. Because a part of you is. The part that was built on pleasing others. The part that prioritized appearances. The part that sacrificed authenticity for belonging. But every death of the false is the birth of the real. Every collapse of the mask is the beginning of true presence. And that's what this moment is. Not a breakdown, but a return. A slow, painful, beautiful return to who you actually are. Underneath it all, it will ask everything of you. It will dismantle your certainty. It will stretch you past your comfort. But in the space where the ego loosens its grip, something sacred enters. Stillness, truth, freedom. You don't have to rush. You don't have to figure it all out. You simply have to stop resisting what you already know deep down. The life you're losing was never really yours. And the life that is waiting, it begins the moment you stop performing and start listening. The moment you stop managing perception and start honoring your truth. The moment you stop asking, how do I hold it all together? And start asking, what wants to fall away? Everything that's cracking in your life right now is revealing something honest, something whole, something that has always been within you, but hidden beneath the noise. The self, the part of you that doesn't need to pretend, the part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. So when it all feels like it's falling apart, ask yourself this: what if I'm not collapsing? What if I'm being called to come home? Because every rupture is a threshold, every fracture, a portal, and every honest life begins with a breaking. You are not losing control, you are transforming. And though it may feel like everything is slipping through your hands, what's really happening is that everything false is falling away. What's collapsing is not your strength, it's the structure you built to survive, not to thrive. Carl Jung called this process individuation. Individuation is not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming who you've always been beneath the noise, beneath the masks, beneath the roles you were told to play. It's the long, quiet journey of returning to the self. Not the self that others expect, but the deeper self, the whole you. This path often begins when nothing seems to make sense anymore. When the life you've built starts to feel too small. When the connections you've held onto begin to feel shallow. When the mirror no longer reflects someone you recognize. And that's when the pain arrives. The loneliness, the disorientation, the silent question echoing inside you, what's happening to me? But that discomfort isn't a problem to fix. It's a signal. It's the start of something sacred. It's the moment your soul starts calling you inward. Because growth always starts in silence. Individuation isn't loud. It doesn't come with applause or clarity. It comes with shedding, with stillness, with confusion. Because to become whole, you first have to face the parts of yourself you've hidden, the fears you buried, the dreams you silenced. And that's hard, especially when you've spent a lifetime being who others needed you to be, especially when the world has rewarded your performance more than your truth. But something in you is shifting. That shift may feel like anxiety. It may feel like restlessness, or a deep craving for space. But beneath all that, there's a stirring, a knowing, a quiet recognition that who you've been is no longer enough. Not because you were wrong, but because you've outgrown the version of you that was built for survival. This is the cocoon. It's dark, it's lonely, and it often feels like something is dying. But that's because something is. The version of you that only knew how to people please. The version of you that stayed silent to stay safe. The version of you that confused productivity with worthiness. That part is fading. And what's being born in its place is not something weaker, but something real. This is what healing actually looks like. Not perfect routines, not constant joy, not immediate clarity, but deep honesty and a willingness to feel. You may wonder why growing older often feels lonelier. Why the further you go on this path, the fewer people seem to walk beside you. It's not because you're failing, it's because your standards are changing. You no longer crave surface-level conversation. You no longer tolerate being tolerated. You no longer settle for being seen but not known. Individuation demande solitude. Because in the quiet, you finally hear your own voice. You begin to notice what resonates and what doesn't. What drains you and what nourishes you. You begin to stop choosing what's easy and start choosing what's true. That shift is radical. Because for the first time, you stop living for approval and start living in alignment. You begin to walk away from anything that costs your peace. You start saying no without guilt. You begin protecting your energy like it's sacred because it is. And the more you commit to this process, the more you begin to realize you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not falling apart. You are shedding. You are recalibrating. You are remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. That is not weakness. That is power, but power that begins with gentleness, with compassion, with choosing to sit with your pain instead of running from it. This path is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you're making progress. Other days you'll feel like you're falling backwards. That's okay. Transformation is not a straight line. It's a spiral. You will revisit the same themes, the same wounds, but each time from a deeper level of awareness. And that awareness is everything, because the more conscious you become, the less control the unconscious has over your life. That's the true goal of individuation, not perfection, but wholeness. To be able to say, this is who I am. All of it, the messy, the beautiful, the broken, the brave, not hiding any part, not needing to be fixed, just whole. You are not breaking, you are breaking open. You are not disappearing, you are emerging. So if this process feels heavy right now, let it be. Don't rush. Don't numb it. Don't run. Because everything you feel is part of your becoming. And becoming yourself fully, completely, is the most courageous thing you will ever do. It often begins quietly. A lingering restlessness, a subtle unease, a feeling that something is off, but You can't quite name it. Maybe you felt more anxious lately. Or detached. Maybe the world feels flat, like you're going through the motions but not truly here. Some mornings you wake up with a heaviness in your chest that follows you through the day. Some nights, you can't fall asleep not because your body isn't tired, but because your mind won't let go. You wonder if something is wrong with you. It's not. What you're feeling isn't failure. It's an invitation. These emotions, the anxiety, the sadness, the sense of being lost are not random. They are messages, signals, not from the world around you, but from within you. Carl Jung called this the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is not dangerous. It is not a part of you to fear. It is simply the part you've ignored, the part you've pushed aside, the part that, at some point in your life, you decided was too much, too messy, too unacceptable to show the world. So you hid it, but it didn't disappear. It waited. And now, as you begin the process of transformation, as you step away from what no longer fits, your shadow stirs. Because for the first time, there's space. Space for what's been buried to rise. That's why the sadness feels deeper, why the confusion feels louder, why old memories, old regrets, old wounds suddenly return. It's not because you're broken. It's because you're finally still enough to hear what's been waiting to speak. The shadow does not shout. It whispers, but its whispers are powerful. They come in the form of self-doubt, of fear, of recurring patterns you thought you'd already outgrown. They appear as jealousy, as resistance, as the tendency to sabotage your own joy. They show up in the relationships you attract, in the opportunities you push away, in the quiet discomfort you feel when you're finally alone with yourself. And here's the truth most people avoid. What hurts you is often what holds your healing. What you resist is often what reveals you. Shadow work is not about fixing your flaws. It's about facing them. It's about turning toward the parts of you that feel unworthy, unlovable, unacceptable, and choosing to see them, to sit with them, to understand them, not to indulge them, but to listen, to ask, why are you here? What do you need me to know? Because every feeling is a clue. Every emotional reaction is a thread that leads somewhere deeper. That anger you carry, it might be a boundary that was never honored. That shame, it might be a belief someone else gave you. That fear, it might be protection you no longer need. The discomfort you feel in this moment is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's a sign that you're getting closer. You're not lost. You're uncovering. You're not going backwards. You're going deeper. Jung said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That is the essence of this work. Not to run from your darkness, but to walk into it. Not to erase it, but to integrate it. Because your shadow is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows you where you're still hiding, where you're still hurting, where you're still not free. And freedom comes through awareness, through radical honesty, through the courage to ask hard questions, and the patience to sit with hard truths. This process is not easy. It will challenge you. It will humble you. It will stretch you into places you didn't know you could go. But on the other side of that depth is something sacred. Clarity, wholeness, peace, not because everything is perfect, but because nothing is hidden. You begin to realize that your worth was never in your perfection. It was always in your presence, in your willingness to be with yourself fully. Not just the parts that sparkle, but the parts that ache. And as you do this work, as you make peace with your darkness, you stop fearing it in others. You stop projecting your pain onto the world. You stop blaming others for the parts of yourself you haven't yet faced. That is when real healing begins. Not when you escape your shadow, but when you embrace it. So if you're in the dark right now, don't rush to turn on the light. Sit with it. Let it speak. Let it show you what you've been too afraid to feel. Because this darkness is not here to punish you. It's here to guide you back to what's real, what's honest, what's been waiting for you beneath the surface of your life. This is not the end. It's the descent before the rise. It's the pause before the clarity. You are not broken. You are being initiated into a deeper relationship with yourself. And when you come through this not by running, but by returning, you'll carry a light that is not borrowed, not imagined, but earned. The kind of light that only those who've met their darkness can hold. Maybe the hardest part of all this isn't the confusion, or the sadness, or even the quiet unraveling of everything you thought you were. Maybe the hardest part is feeling alone in it. Like no one sees the struggle behind your eyes. Like you're walking through a life that looks normal from the outside, but inside, something is shifting, cracking, becoming, and no one seems to notice. But I want you to know something. That sense of isolation, that ache in your chest when you realize you no longer fit where you once did it, doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're ahead. It means you're no longer pretending. You're no longer choosing comfort over truth. You're no longer settling for a version of yourself that made everyone else comfortable, but left you quietly disappearing. That's not failure. That's courage. You are not lost. You are just the first to wake up. And waking up in a world still asleep feels lonely. But it won't always feel this way. Because as you become more honest, you begin to attract people who can meet you there. Not with masks, not with performance, but with presence. You'll start to notice moments that feel real again. Conversations that open instead of drain you. Quiet moments that no longer scare you, but soothe you. And most of all, you'll begin to notice yourself. Not the version shaped by expectation, but the one that's been waiting for you. Patiently, lovingly. The you who never needed to be more, only needed to be seen. So if you've made it this far, if something in these words feels like it was written for you, if you feel even the smallest spark of finally someone understands, you're not alone. You've never been. There are others out here quietly walking this same path. Others who feel deeply, who break open, who sit with their shadow and choose truth over approval. And if you'd like, I invite you to stay. Subscribe or not just to support this space, but to remind yourself that your journey matters, that your pain has meaning, that your healing is valid, that even in your quietest, most uncertain moments, someone else is walking with you. And we're not here to fix each other. We're here to walk each other home, one step, one breath, one truth at a time.